Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today from the Fitchburg Police Department. You'll recognize her from the swearing-in ceremony. We have her here in person. It's Lieutenant Lisa Heitman. Lisa, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Jeremy, I'm great. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. You were off and running immediately as you took on the role, which is about where we expect everybody in the city of Fitchburg. We're busy folk here as far as employees go. But Lisa, we want people to get to know you. You've been here, and maybe people know you, maybe people don't. But being in the role that you're in, it's awesome to see movement internally, and we're so excited to share a little bit more about you. So hardest hitting question of this interview is tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, Jeremy, thank you. So I've been with Fitchburg PD for only about 5 years. So I came to the law enforcement profession a little bit later in life. I'm from a small town in Wisconsin, came here to Madison UW to college, and then I was in the Air Force for a couple years. Did active duty Air Force, one deployment to Iraq, loved serving my country and knew I wanted to continue service, but I wanted to come back home. So after I left the military, I came back home to Madison, but I was hired by the U.S. Attorney's Office as the title is National Security Specialist. I was essentially an analyst. So I worked with attorneys and I worked with special agents and task force officers, assisting with cases. And so, still working in the law enforcement field, but not as a sworn, officer, still wanting to, always had that kind of in my ear, like, I still want to be a cop. I still want to, get behind the desk. Working in an office is okay, but I wanted something more. So, I didn't want to get too much older. So I made the change a little bit later in life and I switched from the U.S. Attorney's Office, and Fitchburg PD hired me, sent me to the academy. And that was 5 years ago. Most of my time here has been on night shift or second shift. So, I'm enjoying meeting the rest of the city staff. I wasn't very visible before because I was, on night shift. So I'm really enjoying being here, during the day. Working during the day is great. Sleeping at night is great. And I'm just loving, meeting all the other employees in the city. It's just a great place to work. And I'm enjoying the new role. Like you said, it's been go, go, go. Incredibly busy, lots to do. As everybody knows, Fitchburg is busy, and every day it's always something a little different, and it's been a lot, but I've been really enjoying it so far. And I've got a lot of ideas and plans and other things that I hope to get started.
We're going to talk about some of those here, but first off, welcome to the daytime. In case you hadn't been welcomed, that's a tough shift to do, by the way, and appreciate you doing that. And what a unique perspective too. Maybe if we have time, we'll talk a little bit about that shift. But you talk about some of the things that you are interested in working about. What is the role? Like, what are some of the things that you are working on, or as the lieutenant, what do you do?
Sure. So, we have 2 lieutenants, at the police department, and many of you, and of course, Jeremy, I know Lieutenant Ned Hartwick, and he's, been my partner. And so when I, was promoted, Ned now is the lieutenant over the detectives, the community service employees, our dispatch center. And so then now I have, I oversee the patrol section. So all of our patrol officers, all patrol sergeants. So that's kind of the area I'm in charge of, essentially. And, so it's making sure we're staffed on the road, making sure officers are trained, either the brand new officers that are, new to the department that need that initial field training, or it's the continuing training that officers need. So, it's busy, it's summertime. So we, our calls for service increase, and, officers are on vacation. And so it's our busy time. And yeah, so it's just kind of my focus right now is making sure my officers are happy and healthy, and that our shifts are staffed.
So it's no surprise that the department's a little bit on the younger side. We've had a lot of people retire, a lot of longtime officers here in Fitchburg that have served many years, or retired or coming up to retirement. So in those dynamics, and a new police chief too, and now you as a lieutenant. But what are some of the things that you guys are working on as all of these changes are happening around you, and still continuing to do that day-to-day operations?
Yeah, so you mentioned, we are a young department, and, we're hiring, very frequently. And so we have 5 officers that are in field training right now. And then we have 3 more officers that are going to field training officer school in July so that they can be trained to be field training officers, for our new officers. So that seems to be, that's kind of my focus right now is our field training program, making sure we have enough staff that are trained and that, they have clear guidance and instruction and expectations when they're training others. Because, I anticipate, that we're kind of continually be hiring, as there's retirements and, law enforcement is a tough career field to work in. Oftentimes people discover maybe it's not for them. And so, we're kind of in this cycle of hiring and training. So that's my focus right now.
And kind of talking a little bit about the shifts and maybe the structure of the department. When you come into the police department, where do you start at? So whether you do go into school or you're going to the field training program, kind of what's that progression look like?
Sure. And so one thing that is wonderful about Fitchburg, and that's what they did with me, is they'll hire you without having the law enforcement academy. So we'll hire you and then we'll send you to the law enforcement academy, which is 720 hours. And that's just such a great thing that our department does. And so that's what they did with me. Again, they sent me to Black Hawk Tech to the 720 law enforcement academy. And then after the academy, you're going to come back to the department for our field training program. That is 3 steps, essentially 4 with our shadow program. And that takes over, many weeks, months to get you then trained, in our specific department policies and kind of the way we do it here. And then after that field training process, and once you complete that, then you're on the road. And Fitchburg, like many other agencies in Dane County, we're 1 person to a squad. So everybody listening, if you see a squad car with 2 officers in it, that means someone's in training. So maybe have a little bit more patience with them, as they're learning. And sometimes people will comment, why are so many officers at this stop? It could be because we have multiple training cars, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now. We have every shift has somebody in training. So it's going to look like we have a lot of officers, and it's because we have so many in training right now.
Lisa, in an overall shift, and I know this could be a hard question to say because no shift is alike. No, and I think that's a draw too to a lot of the officers that I've talked with in the past. That you never know what you're going to end up with, good, bad, whatever. But on a typical shift, what is an officer doing in general? Is it the old school of hey, they're just doing traffic stops, or they're going to the donut? I'm not saying it. But what is that perspective for folks who maybe aren't familiar with what our officers are actually doing each and every day? I know they're very busy, but other people may not.
No, great question. And it really does depend on the day. And that is one of the great things, like you said, about this job. It's certainly what drew me to the job. I worked, 9 to 5 behind a desk, and it was frankly, it was boring, and I wanted something with some more excitement. And so this job provides that, because you don't know, what you're going to get every day. And so, typically in an officer, they're going to, of course, respond to their calls for service. So anytime, an individual calls 911 or a non-emergency number and they need a law enforcement officer, our officers, are going to respond to those calls for service. And there's some shifts, particularly our second shift, where that's all an officer does, is they just go from one call to the next call to the next call, because some of these calls require extensive, follow-up. Maybe they'd have to go and talk to other people, or they'd have to go obtain surveillance footage from a business, and so our officers do a lot of their own, kind of continuing work on these calls or these cases that they're assigned. If you're lucky, maybe you'll have time to do some self-initiated work. Maybe that's, walking through a neighborhood. That was something I always enjoyed doing, was walking through neighborhoods, trying to meet with the community. Or of course, we do traffic. And the reason we do traffic is to have safe roads. We've certainly seen a rise in distracted driving, people on their cell phones, and we've seen a rise in, kind of the, road rage kind of incidents. And so, we do traffic just to try to keep the roads as safe as we can. So our officers will be doing that as well. So you never know what you're going to do. And that's one of the great things about the job. And, you get to kind of pick sometimes, I'm going to do, some traffic, or maybe I'm going to do some foot patrol and kind of walk through the neighborhoods if you have time.
Yeah, no, it's impressive. I said, I told you right before we came on that I have a love for public safety in all entities. And I think that's the fascinating part to me is no shift is alike, but truly you're in the business to help people, meet people. And it's a daunting task, and you folks are assigned with so many different tasks each and every day, but all in the better and good or need for helping people. So thank you so much, Lisa, for your time. It's so nice to get a chance to talk to you. See you in the daylight hours, certainly. And we'll look forward to having you back on the show, but appreciate your time.
Absolutely, Jeremy. It's been wonderful talking with you. And yes, I look forward to being on future episodes.
You didn't even know though, but it's part of your new life here.
Yeah, I think yeah, Chief has kind of said that, yeah, you'll be seeing more of me.
That's okay. We appreciate it. All right, Lisa, thank you so much. Stay safe out there, and we'll look forward to seeing you here in the near future.
Thanks, Jeremy. Take care.
You bet. Lisa Heitman, Lieutenant. Say hi when you see her out there. She's busy. I just saw her at an event recently, and I couldn't even get a word in because she was running all over the place. So she's working hard for you out there. We're going to take a quick break. More to come. You're watching Talking Fitchburg.